Alrighty. Well, while we're still starting for folk or waiting for folks to trickle in today, I did want to start today's meeting a little different than others, just given what today is. So, as many of you know, or all of you know, today is September 11th, the 24th anniversary of 9/11. And just to start off today's meeting in remembrance of those that we've lost and the heroes who served during that day, I wanted to start our meeting with just a moment of silence. Thank you for your participation. So to kick off, we are going to start with our roll call. And during today's roll call, rather than just saying here, we're going to integrate with our interactive question. So when your name is called, I would love to hear what was the favorite thing you did this summer. So to kick off, Steve Clark.
Hey everybody. My favorite thing was I went to the Philly Folk Festival and had a blast, and I hope it continues. Thank you.
Thank you. David Director.
Well, I'm not sure that did a great deal of much of anything this summer. Mostly we hung around the house, and we did have an exciting time watching them put in some new windows for us. And that's really the extent of our summer.
Wonderful. Mike Fuller. And you are muted, Mike.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. I just had a hectic crossing of State Road. I'm going over to the park to get mellow. My summer highlight was a trip to Maine. It was great. A lot of paddling, exploring, and the best part was visiting my cousin's restaurant in Yarmouth, Binga's Wingas. It was fun, super fun. I'm psyched to be here, and I love new windows. That's a great thing, Dave. Good job. Excellent investment. All right, pass.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mike. Carol is not with us this evening, but Julie is here, and she shared her favorite summer experience was hanging out with her new grandbaby, but she is driving, so she's not going to unmute. Do we have Jacqueline? No. So next we'll go to Mike Schneller.
Hello, I am here. My favorite thing, boy, paddling across Saranac Lake in the Adirondacks in a kayak by myself with no phone and no bothering.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. And I know Steve Clark was also just in the Adirondacks. Justin.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm here. Got to go visit the in-laws in Minnesota, which is fun because they have a lot of lakes and pools and, canoeing and stuff that we got to do. So that was a nice trip for me and the family.
Awesome. Thank you. Joy is not with us this evening. Gina.
Good afternoon. So we got to go to Italy this summer with my family, my parents, my kids, and loved going horseback riding through a vineyard in Tuscany. It was pretty surreal experience. I felt like we were going through a painting.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing. Laura, not with us today. Is Anne on? I see Anne is here.
Sorry, I'm here. I was having trouble unmuting.
You're good.
Hello, thanks, Becca. I'm here. And it's gonna sound really cheesy, but I very much enjoyed attending the summer concert series at Rotary Park.
Awesome. Glad you love your job, you know.
That's
Karen,
not cheesy. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Hi everyone. Best thing I did this summer was get married.
awesome, and congratulations. Next, we'll skip to Sue.
So sorry, I was unmuting and everything. Well, Anne beat me to the punch because I'm sitting here listening to everybody and nobody's talking about work. So I was going to say, just coming to work every day serving the taxpayers of Delaware County. That's me.
Some
the
better
clown.
summer plans. No offense, I'm just kidding. Thank you for sharing. Dave Moser.
Hi, Becca. Yeah, so probably my favorite thing this summer was heading out to Denver, Colorado, and visiting Rocky Mountain National Park. So that was a pretty cool trip with my family.
Fantastic. Thank you. I see Beth, you're on as well. Alrighty, we'll keep rolling. And our newest member, we have Olivia.
Hello, everyone. I am going to be talking a little bit more about myself later, but I am so excited to be here and thank you for having me.
Favorite summer memory?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I also did some traveling. I went to Rhode Island to visit a friend and it was awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you. So that was a fun one. And I will say, as we kick into our agenda, we are going to shift a few things around because I know a couple folks need to leave early. So first and foremost, I wanted to take a moment today to recognize this is the last meeting for our friend and colleague, Steve Clark. So Steve is at the end of his term for the Sustainability Commission, and just to recognize him, Steve has been with us as a founding member of the commission since 2020, so served for 5 years, bringing both his expertise and his passion for energy to this group. Steve has served on the Energy and Efficiency Subcommittee for the Sustainability Plan, was a foundational member in getting that off the ground, as well as our Zero Waste Plan, as well as an active volunteer at our conference and campaign sign recycling events each year. So just wanted to take that moment. And Steve, if there's anything you want to say in your last commission meeting as a formal member, we just want to thank you.
I don't have anything to add. It's just you guys are doing a great job, and Becca, it's just such a pleasure to work with you. And I wish you guys all the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, and Steve's not departing too far, but it does bring up the important point of we do have some vacancies coming. So if you want to be the new Steve Clark on our board, please feel free to apply to serve as the new representative with expertise and experience in energy or green building practices. And we also still have a vacancy for representatives with experience or expertise in the field of water resource management. Applications will be due September 19th at noon, and they can be found on the county's website at the link below. Otherwise, you can just search board vacancies. So next up on our agenda is we do have the minutes. Give me one moment.
I move we approve the minutes.
David, we're not even up yet, sir.
I second
You did
that.
circulate them.
Okay, so we have a motion from David, second from Dave Schneller, or Mike Schneller, sorry. All those in favor, please say so by saying aye.
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 Alrighty, motion approved. And it's worth noting from the circulated minutes, there is just one, Carol's last name needs to be updated, but we will make that adjustment and they will be posted to our website. So next up on our agenda, we do have I'm sorry, I'm skipping public comment. Thank you all. We have 6 folks on today. Thank you so much for joining us. If you would like to make comment during today's meeting, you have 3 opportunities for public comment. The first opportunity, you can put something in the question and answer box at the bottom of your screen, and they'll be addressed during our public comment portion of today's meeting. The second opportunity is if you would prefer, you can enter comments through our email at sustaindelco@co.delaware.pa.us. And finally, if you would prefer to speak your question during our public comment period on today's agenda, please hit the raise a hand button, which can also be found at the bottom of your screen, and that will designate that you would like to come off mute. So with that, happy to take any public comment at this time. Shari Stuber asked, what was the favorite part of my summer? I had the opportunity to go to Washington State to see Northern Cascades and Mount Rainier National Parks. Thank you for asking, Shari. Alrighty, with no other comment at this time, we'll continue. So next up, we have our subcommittee reports. So I'll turn it over to Mike Schneller to see if y'all have any updates.
Well, we didn't meet. So we don't really have any updates, but I think, and I apologize for that, David and Steve, since we were working on revamping the energy efficiency portion for residential housing in Delaware County on the website. And we wanted to make a recommendation, which hopefully by next month we'll be able to do that and possibly, make it conform to the format that's pre-existing. So hopefully I'll have some time to get that done in the next month. I did spend the last 2 days at the Keystone Energy Efficiency Alliance and New Jersey Energy Efficiency Alliance Conference over in Somerset today and yesterday. A lot of interesting information about utility and what we can do as customers to reduce our usage and help the impending issue of not having enough power in our grid because of AI and data centers, which is coming. So we're working on that, and what else? There was an interesting concept, and I don't want to get granular on this, but one of the code policymakers were there, and she was talking about stretch code, and I thought that was a very interesting concept where if the code for energy code for Pennsylvania buildings is 2018, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe 2021, but the stretch code would bring the EEC code up to present. So municipalities can do that, and also counties can do that. So I am going to investigate that a little more to see if that's something that could be entertained, but it would make a huge impact on our energy use in the county, especially for new construction and renovations. So that's all I have. Oh, and they did mention the strategic energy management program that the state is doing. And we are taking advantage. I think we're taking advantage of that, correct, Becca? or maybe not.
Which was the program? I'm sorry.
The strategic energy management, the part-time person that they manager that they
Yes. So
let
the
us
Shared Energy Manager program.
shared energy manager. That's it. Couldn't remember.
Yes.
Right. So those are good things. So they're trying. There's some daunting tasks ahead of us. So we're doing what we can. That's about it. Unless David, you have anything else you want to stick in there?
Can't think of anything offhand. I will observe that I remember running into the question of municipalities updating their codes. And I've run into that before back in another Providence, and I think it's every 3 years there's an update to the codes, and yeah, they wind up being behind, and it's an ongoing issue.
Yes. So anyway, those are the things we're going to be working on. And if anybody else in the commission wants to join us, you're more than welcome. Oh, and you get a free energy assessment if you do from PICO.
Yeah, I had mine. We'll talk about it.
Oh, good. All right.
Awesome.
Enough
Well,
time.
thank you
Thank
guys
you.
so much. And it is worth noting to our members of the public as well that for any of our subcommittees, members of the public are also welcome to join and participate. You don't have to be a member of the commission. We would just ask that you reach out and let us know. So I will put my email in the chat, or Mike, if you're comfortable sharing your email for any interested members of the public as well.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Alrighty, so next up on our agenda, we have the Office of Sustainability update. So let me share this, and I apologize, I'm working on one less screen than I'm used to. Alrighty. So we have some new folks in our office, but that will be a little bit later. So I'm going to plow through just a couple project updates first, and then we'll be turning it over to our new teammate, Olivia, to share what she's been working on. So first and foremost, we have a bunch of projects going on, many of which you guys have heard of in the past, but just wanted to first touch on some of the projects we have going on our county properties. So first, and serendipitously, as Mike Schneller mentioned, we are part of the Shared Energy Manager program through the Department of Environmental Protection. And we are currently utilizing those free services for an EV charging study. So this is evaluating how the county's current electric fleet is being charged and helping make recommendations on where it makes most sense to place new chargers on county properties to meet the needs of the existing fleet as well as future needs. This is currently in the final phase, and we should be having deliverables to share by the end of this fall. Next up, we also have the tree canopy study. This was completed using local share account grant funding, and I'm extremely happy to share that this study has been completed. We were ready to bring it for today's meeting, but decided we're going to bump it to October for our in-person reorg presentation. So we very much look forward to sharing that with you soon. We're also working in a different area of sustainability than what we've done in the past. However, there's a lot of county-wide contracts which are currently up or coming toward their end. And we're very thankful to our purchasing department, who has been forethinking enough to invite the Office of Sustainability to participate to ensure that our contracts are reflecting sustainable processes. So there's two main contracts we are helping with. The first is our copying contract. So this is all of the copiers across all of the county buildings, as well as our waste hauling contract, which we'll touch on a little bit later. Other projects underway are the relighting project in the government center. I'm happy to share that this project is currently in design. Since our last meeting, a design contract has been signed with Lynn Architects. So we are underway for relighting of our government center. Next, we also have some upcoming items on our solar array as well as recycling standardization, but wanted to dive into those a little bit more in depth and also get some of your feedback from the commission. So first, touching on solar, as you may know, Delaware County currently purchases its electricity for buildings, for county buildings rather, through the Sustainable Energy Partnership of Southeastern Pennsylvania, also known as SEPSPA. Currently, we're recognizing that as solar tax credits are coming to an end in 2026, there is much more incentive to try to put new solar installations on county properties. So in partnership with the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission and the PA Solar Center, all 4 counties have submitted building information to have evaluations to see if we would be eligible for a power purchasing agreement, in which case a solar company would come put installations on our properties, and then we would have an agreement to purchase the clean energy back. For Delaware County, we submitted 34 different buildings and properties, 13 of which are, I'll say, more realistic, just because they've had new roofs in the past year or two. But we're eagerly awaiting the findings of that study. And it's worth noting that that study will also provide us pricing information for which buildings would be most advantageous. And it's, again, this project would have to be implemented before July of 2026. I know one of the other big projects that has been kind of ongoing and has been brought up in previous meetings is the solar installation at the George W. Hill Correctional Facility. For those who have not been involved since the very beginning, several years ago, there was a proposal to put ground-mounted solar at the prison to essentially put clean energy back into the grid. So this would be an extremely large 30 to 40 acre project where the electricity would go back to the grid rather than to a specific county building. The initial contract for that project fizzled, but I will be happy to share that the SEPSPA group is currently working with a lawyer to see what it would cost to purchase the queue position to keep that project moving forward. If you're not familiar with kind of large scale solar, what that means is when you're doing something larger that actually like puts it back into the grid rather than for on-site use, you have to get approval from the grid for them to accept that energy. And essentially there's an extremely long line of projects and it takes several years. So what this is doing is essentially looking to see if we could purchase someone's spot in line, or the spot in line from the initial project, to try to make it a viable project. Any questions on those 2 things?
Yeah, I do. I was trying to raise my hand, but I can't find the raise hand thing on this, this latest version. Yeah, so I was just about to put this in the chat. Implementation, project implementation. That is a term that has to be defined by statute in terms of you know, when these expire. And as I understand it, that implies that's a certain amount of commitment of funds. It's not it doesn't mean it's built and completed. It means that and there is some threshold, but I don't know exactly what it is. So if you could clarify that, so that you know we have an idea of exactly you know how possible is it going to be to do something.
Yeah, so the guidance that I've heard, and this is both from my own reading of legislation as well as we've spoken with 2 solar companies recently, is that programs have to be 5% considerable construction. So your project has to be at least 5% underway. So showing that you're already actively moving forward with a project in the construction phase, not just in design. However, in speaking with Exact Solar, which is a local solar company, they said one of the other ways that you can kind of slip into that language is if you purchase the panels up front and have a contract with a solar design company, then that does something where it's called safe harboring, where it's showing enough commitment to the project where you also would fall within that deadline. So
Yeah,
those are kind of like
I would
two.
imagine the panels are gonna be 5% of the cost
Yeah.
or a little more.
Absolutely.
So,
So those are kind of the two general things that we've heard. I know there's still a
Right.
lot of uncertainty around the legislation though, and really uncertainty on, well, what counts as considerable construction.
yeah, I had also seen the 5% number, but I wasn't sure whether that was just wind or whether that was both wind and solar. So, thank
Sure.
you.
Sure. Thanks for asking.
I
Any
can't
other-
raise my hand. I don't know how to, I'm driving.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, they actually discussed this and addressed this issue at the conference. The grid operator, they had representation there too, and they're trying to bundle projects together and approve them all at once rather than individual. It's a huge change and shift toward the approval process. So I think it should be good. I'm hoping it should be good. So maybe this project will fall into that. Not sure.
Yeah, thank you for that update. That's super helpful to know, and I'm glad to hear they're doing something to address the queue for large scale grid solar.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if there's no other questions on those first 2 points, then I wanted to share the third point you see here. So as many of you know, we have several hundred solar panels on the government center roof in Media Borough. So this is our complex. Unfortunately, last year we did have to remove this installation due to roof replacement, and it was found not financially advantageous to put them back. And that's as these panels were from 2007. It was found they essentially would not pay themselves back off in savings based upon the reinstallation cost. Unfortunately, we are coming into project where it is now needing to be re-roofed of this larger section, which we're referring to as the high roof. But as a positive, the Public Works Department has been extremely courteous in pulling us into this process very early. So we're currently evaluating all different avenues for these panels. So kind of following the zero waste hierarchy, highest and best use, we have spoken with Solar States and Exact Solar and are awaiting their evaluations to see the costs to remove and then put the panels back on, as well as get pricing for new installations. If it is found that it is not advantageous to put these panels back, we're also looking for additional alternatives. So if any members of either the public or our commission know of organizations that you can donate panels to or have worked with any solar panel recycling companies in the past, any recommendations are appreciated as we're trying to do all of our due diligence and know all of our possible avenues at this time.
One thing that I like to see is make them available to educators for small scale projects. Not for actual use in a building, but for demonstrations for educational purposes.
That's one thing that we had talked about.
One other possible, I mean, you still have to have somebody install it. You still have to find money to do that. Another idea would be reach out to like Delco Solarize, and they work with a contractor, and probably they would be able to assess if these panels could be used or put into a project.
Yeah, I'm on the board. I can ask our members, our directors,
Yeah, please. I think
I will
that
do that.
might
The
be the
problem with
easiest
that
way.
is warranties are voided when you use
Right.
panels.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. There is a company called eForce that will recycle them, but I think they actually charge. So I'm not sure if that's something you want to pursue, but it's called eForce. They do appliance recycling, electronics recycling for Pico throughout the territory, and pretty decent company. So um,
How old are they, Becca?
2007.
So they're
yeah. So
So
maybe
I
just
will ask
under
halfway
them.
20.
halfway through their lifetime.
Yes. And I will say we do have some time. So I know that this is kind of a big issue, but if anybody is bored or interested in poking around and finding some alternatives, we are welcome to any suggestions. As we are just trying to have kind of a full menu of all the options and pricing opportunities ahead of the re-roof.
I want one other thing, sort of in line with the idea of giving it to teachers, is see if there's a training program. And I mean, they may actually get current current panels to train with, but they may not. There may be some programs that I'd love to have some sample panels to play with.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you. So that's what we have going on for solar. The other big kind of internal project we have going on, and I'm going to try to go through kind of quick so we have some time. But as you guys may recall, this past April, we started a pilot recycling program, or I'll say revamping of the recycling program in our government center complex to just make it more robust, as we found that initial participation was very low. We're now trying to roll this out on the larger scale across all county buildings, and we're finding it's quite the undertaking. So what you see on your screen here is kind of the different steps in this project, and we are currently, I'll say, touching on the first and second arrows and wading into the third. So as I mentioned earlier, the county is currently undergoing an updated dumpster contract. So one of the things we're really working to do is ensuring that we have adequate recycling dumpsters and infrastructure at all county buildings. This also includes minimizing dumpsters and pickups for trash where we can, so really right-sizing the system, and working with whomever our new contractor is to ensure that we have adequate reporting provisions and Act 101 compliance built into the county's contracts. While this is happening, Olivia, who you'll meet in one slide, is actively working on a current state analysis, working to better understand what the existing practices are within our county buildings as well. So this is really going and talking to staff across all county buildings to see what do they currently have in their buildings, what are the needs to implement recycling, and kind of where is the interest or knowledge of staff currently. The next phase of this project, and this is what we're finding will be our next step, is prior to implementation of the standardization, we need to be creating a baseline for the diversion rate across all county facilities. So what we mean by this is figuring out how much trash and recycling we're currently producing out of all county buildings. While this may sound like it's something pretty simple, we are learning that we cannot get tonnage data from any of our front load dumpsters. So any of the ones the forklift has to like pick up and dump like this, because they'll typically service multiple customers in one route. So what we are currently working on and would love anyone's help, expertise, interest is figuring out another methodology to capturing the waste tonnage across all county buildings that is in alignment with our resources and capacity.
It's funny that this should come up because last night I was at a immediate zero waste meeting, and we were talking about things that we'd like to, things that we'd like to be targeting over the next several years. And one of them was pay as you throw. And, there are ways of handling pay as you throw, both for residential and for commercial, that are very simple, that involve the outfitting of trucks with weighing devices that simply weigh the container and all before emptying, then dump the container and weigh it after. And in conjunction with barcode readers. It's a simple technology. And we were talking about trying to get a little expertise together and do a little research on what is actually out there with this technology, and what it might take to convince some of the local haulers to implement that kind of technology. And that would solve your problem of, serving multiple customers.
Please let us know what you find.
Well, now this is not going to happen next week. This is something that we decided to put on our radar as another approach to dealing with the whole issue of zero waste.
Absolutely.
So you pay more if you recycle more? Is that the idea?
Well, you pay your tonnage, and so you pay for your recycling at whatever the recycling rate is, and you pay for your trash at whatever the trash rate is, and you pay for your compost at whatever your compost rate is.
I'm sure Delco would want to hear if any municipalities have done this.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the one resource I can share, and I will say for our public attendees, this will be on our website in the coming weeks. So in our zero waste plan, which this group approved in July, which is going before County Council on September 16th and 17th. So mark your calendars and please feel free to come. There is a case study in that plan which talks about a pay as you throw or a save as you throw program, which was implemented in, I believe, East Town Borough. And I could be giving the wrong town. In Chester
Could be
County.
out near Westchester.
Yes.
Yes,
And
yes.
how
Friends of ours
they
were in it.
Yeah, and how they implemented this is rather than weighing the actual trash, you can choose a different bin size based on your household needs,
Right.
and your monthly or annual trash fee will be based on the bin size you select. So that's one system people have done to kind of promote the pay as you throw. Or another opportunity, which some cities across the United States are doing, is you pay for a specific kind of trash bag. So, for example, like your city may have an orange trash bag that you have to purchase to throw your trash away. And the more trash you throw, the more trash bags you need. So it kind of evens itself out. And the orange or whatever funky color they'll do will designate to the town of, yes, the person paid for their system. And it's that trash bag cost that essentially ends up covering your hauling fee as well. So there are definitely different mechanisms or practices to implementing pay as you throw beyond the weight, but would definitely be interested in anyone that's doing a weight-based system.
Yeah, I'm not aware of it being done anywhere around here, but it's certainly simple technology, and
Absolutely. So if anyone has interest in meeting with the Office of Sustainability specifically to help us figure out our methodology for doing the tonnage baselining for the county, please let us know because we'd be happy to pull in some extra brains to figure this out for a strong baseline methodology that also is not requiring us to luggage scale every bag of trash. Following the baseline, that's when we will then roll out the phased implementation. That way we have a baseline to measure how successful our programs are off of. And then once it's rolled out everywhere, it will then just be maintenance and continuing education across all buildings. And then the last thing in my spiel I just wanted to bring up are then, of course, the projects we're doing in the community and opportunities for volunteering. Lots of different events occurring this fall that the Office of Sustainability is participating in, but in partnership with other organizations, and would love to have any volunteers, commission, or members of the public. So first and foremost, we are doing this in partnership with the City of Chester. They were kind enough to let us piggyback on their event. So on September 27th, the city is doing its first annual citywide Chester Pride community cleanup. So there are 10 cleanup sites across the city of Chester in which community members and residents alike will be cleaning up the streets for a neighborhood and citywide cleanup. And I will be sure to link all volunteer opportunities on our website following today's meeting. Next is for folks that want to get involved in some community science opportunities. Between October 1st and the 15th, we'll be participating in the Fall Salt Snapshot with Stroud Water Research Center. And what this entails is essentially residents and community organizations across the region are welcomed to collect water samples from their local creeks and tributaries and take them to drop-off locations where they'll be salinity tested. And this is really serving as a scientific baseline to see the long-term impacts of road salt across our region. We will also be at the Concord Township Senior Expo if anyone wants to come visit us there. But other volunteer opportunities are all those in blue. Our conservation district is hosting, and sorry to steal your thunder, Karen, is hosting a tremendously huge tree planting event in Ridley Township on Saturday, October 18th. They have over 500 trees that they're looking to put in the ground during that one event. So if you have some extra hands, interest in learning how to plant trees, please visit the Conservation District website to sign up for that event. And then lastly, we're of course hosting our campaign sign recycling November 7th and 8th as we do following each campaign. So with that, I'm happy to turn it over to our new teammate, Olivia Sanson, to introduce herself.
Thank you, Becca. Hi, everyone. I'm Olivia Sanson, and I'm really excited to be here. I am the new sustainability coordinator with the Delaware County Office of Sustainability. So a little bit about me. I was a class of 2025 Temple University graduate. I got my bachelor's of arts in environmental studies, and I minored in political science. And in my time at Temple, I served in Temple's Office of Sustainability, and I was a research assistant for Prescribe Outside, which was an EPA-funded environmental justice and nature-based health program. And it included partners such as the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, Sierra Club PA chapter, the U.S. Forest Service, Let's Go Outdoors, et cetera, et cetera. There are a lot of people involved. And some of our findings are going to be published soon, so that's super exciting. And I am an enrollee in the VOZ Academy Climate Upskilling Program. And then a little bit more about me. I'm from Wilmington, Delaware, specifically North Wilmington in the suburbs, right on the line. So very familiar with Delaware County, even though I don't live in it. And some of my favorite sustainability topics are waste reduction and corporate accountability. And a fun fact about me is I studied abroad in Rome, and I love to talk about European sustainability practices. And
So
you can reach me. Sorry.
Thrilled to welcome Olivia to our team.
Thank you.
Olivia has been working on a lot of our projects to provide back resources to our community organizations. So she has some opportunities for those as well.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about some of the projects I've been working on in my time here so far. So one of them is an EAC Hub project, which is a collaborative project with our very own David Director and Chris Bannon of the Media Bureau EAC. They're driving this project, and the goal is to reduce the need of EACs to kind of start from scratch when they're pursuing a certain policy, for example, like a plastic bag ban. So how we would do that is we are hoping to create a hub where information helpful to Delco EAC operations is stored in a central location, and that would be on our Office of Sustainability website under a button. And that would include important information such as model ordinances and the like. And what we're kind of thinking for how this would work is each month there would be a window period for EACs to kind of share information with perhaps a steering committee, which is not yet established but is in the works. And then that steering committee would review and consolidate all the information that comes in during that time. And then that would go to on our website and it would be updated on a monthly basis is what we're thinking. But that is subject to change. So we are also working on an EAC intercommunication component, as we think that that would be helpful to supplement this project. And I would really appreciate any input from the commission on status of an Alden Borough EAC. If anyone knows if Alden Borough has an EAC, I kind of saw that they did, and then perhaps they don't. Something might have, maybe it didn't work out for them. But just curious if anyone has any information on the existence of an EAC in Alden. And as well as if there are any kinds of documents or resources that anyone thinks that it would be helpful to include on this hub. I would really appreciate your information. And I also want to leave it open to David if he wants to make any comments or talk about the project.
I don't have a whole lot to add, but the thinking is, besides model ordinances or actual ordinances as presented to the various governing bodies, things that are used for public education, whether that is a sign that you use. We're just putting together a sign for gasoline powered leaf blowers, which is one of our ongoing efforts here in media. Or it's a brochure, it's a flyer, those kinds of things that are just general public information on a topic that is not specific to one municipality. You have a piece on stormwater management, you have a piece on native gardens, these kinds of things. And so the various EACs would be able to post these and share them with other EACs, so that if you're deciding you want to work on a plastic bag ordinance, well, what do you have to tell the public? What kinds of materials have already been prepared for talking to the public about plastic bag ordinances, and that kind of thing, and not reinvent the wheel.
Yes, thank you, David.
And Olivia, there is a comment from Shari Stuber in the chat that says, I don't believe Alden EAC exists, but there is some talk about restarting one. Some assistance on the process of establishing an EAC would be helpful.
Yes, thank you so much for your comment. That's very helpful information. And we are looking into having kind of the ordinances there for people who would be interested in establishing an EAC as well. So that's very helpful. Thank you very much. So another one of the projects that I have been working on And this is at a very elementary level as of right now, just in the beginning. But we are very excited to announce that we are actually going to have a Delaware County Office of Sustainability newsletter. So we have been approved to do so and are very, very excited about this opportunity. And so our goal would be to be a source of sustainability information for Delco residents as we are in our positions, but I think that this would be a much easier way to go about this on a periodic basis. So we're super excited about this, and what we're kind of thinking for a general structure for that newsletter is to have kind of 4 general sections. One would be a sustainability spotlight, which would feature sustainability projects taking place in Delco. And again, this is very broad, but we want each time the newsletter comes out for it to be applicable to what's going on, so not too rigid in the categories that we choose. So featuring sustainability projects taking place in Delco, and it may include legislation if it does affect residents and if necessary in that way. And then have another section on what we are doing in the Office of Sustainability. So just a very brief kind of, I guess, summed up version of what we share in these meetings. And a sustainability corner. And this would be a section I am hoping with everyone's, if everyone is interested, to feature commission members and your guys' topics of interest within sustainability. So if that would look like writing kind of a paragraph on a certain topic within sustainability, I feel like that would be a really great way to make your guys' voices heard and share your expertise with Delco residents. And then lastly, a how to get involved section, which would kind of shout out community events and the like from partners and other people just doing things in Delaware County in the sustainability space. So some questions that I have for you all in the commission is I would really like your input on kind of best practices for getting information for content. I don't want it to kind of be like a regurgitation of the same thing every time that it comes out. And I'd really like it to be representative of everyone as much as that is possible. So perhaps having a steering group for that would be a way to go about that. And any other ideas on this topic would be greatly appreciated. So I'll leave it open to you all.
Hi, Olivia. Beck and I were talking about this, like communications, and I honestly think most people don't really have the attention span for a newsletter. And I know we had a social media effort in Fits and Start, and apparently there's issues in communicating with the public as the commission, but the commission might want to consider what Haverford Township does, which is have friends of the EAC. And so it's not officially part of the government, but it is a means to communicate information from the group that's not going to be maybe subject to a lot of the restrictions. But I really I just don't know. I mean, in my inbox, I get so many newsletters from so many climate and green and recycling groups. I just want to just raise that as an option. Something to think about.
Thank you. All input or constructive criticism is welcome. And if anyone comes up with any ideas or has any input after today's commission meeting, feel free to reach out to the Sustain Delco email, or I can pop my email in the chat if I am allowed to do that.
Please. And I'm also, as we are ending this section, it's actually time for public comment. So we do have a couple hands up and some information in the chat. So Jocelyn Beam did say, as a member of the public, I like reading newsletters, but I may be in the minority. And then Camille has her hand up. So Camille, I'm going to go ahead and bring you over so you will have the opportunity to speak. So whenever you're ready, just unmute.
Yep. Hey, thanks, Becca. It's just a question that I wanted to uplift that I also put in the chat about the tree canopy study. I was curious to know if those results are actually going to be available to the public. I won't be able to make the meeting that you're going to have in October where you're going to go through, but I was looking forward to reading those results, or at least being aware of what happened.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining and for your comment. So it will be publicly available. So we are going to do like a presentation walking through that entire study during our October meeting, but it will be posted online after that meeting. And it's worth noting all of these meetings are recorded if you can't make it during this date and time.
Okay, I was just curious if it was going to be more of like a report. I work for a nonprofit, and we are interested in doing some work in the Delaware Basin watershed. And so some of the results I was hoping to pull for some of the grants we're writing.
Yeah, so it is in a report format.
Okay.
So it is report based, and we also have back end GIS data, so geographic information system data that also supplements. So as a community organization, if that is something that would also be useful, that's something that you would just have to reach out for the specific GIS that you would want. But otherwise, everything is in map form in the report.
Yeah, I would love I have a PhD in biology, so I'm familiar with GIS, but I would love to actually get access to that. So I'll make sure to pull your email from the chat or wherever you said you're going to post it, and continue this conversation.
That'd be great. Thank you. And then we also have a comment from Shari Stuber. Shari said, I think a newsletter is what the Office of Sustainability is doing would be very helpful and useful to the general public. Thank you. Also welcome any other public comments at this time, either related to the items we went over or if there's another matter that you would like to raise. Otherwise, we do have another public comment toward the end of our meeting. Alrighty. Then if not, the next item on our agenda is regarding grants. And just a reminder, this is a time where either commission members or members of the public are welcome to share grant opportunities in addition to just kind of updating what's going on in our office. I will say there are quite a few right now that our office in particular is looking at, but also just wanted to elevate them for anyone that may be from a community organization or an EAC or anything like that as well. So just a couple, I'm sorry, working through a lot of different screens. The Pico Green region is currently open, and this is for either open space acquisition or improvement, and that is funding through Pico. It closes October 31st. The William Penn Foundation also has several grants which are opening soon through October, and they kind of do batches of grants for specific topics, and their topics for this upcoming round in the area of environmental is urban trees, urban gardens, illegal dumping, or climate resilience plans. And it's worth noting that community organizations are also eligible for that funding. Another one for folks that may be more interested in horticulture or farming, the Penn State Extension does have a grant currently open called the Center for Plant Excellence. And this is helping support research as well as innovation for growers, businesses, and workers in horticulture. Additional opportunities are the PADEP environmental education grants, which go to educational programming. And those close November 14th. And then finally, the local share account funding, which is eligible for municipalities and counties only. And that is an extremely broad funding source. And those close November 30th. Does anybody else have other grant opportunities that they'd like to share with the group?
Yeah, I'd like to, I think I've mentioned this program before, but the Conservation District administers the Low Volume Road Grant Program. We receive funding from the state to pass on to municipalities who own public roads to do improvements. And those improvements have to have some kind of environmental impact as well as a road improvement factor to it. So a lot of the projects that we do in Delaware County focus specifically on stormwater improvements. We haven't had a ton of competition, I guess, so not a ton of interest. And I just want to bring it back to everyone's attention. There is a training that is required in order to be able to submit an application for this grant program. And our watershed specialist, Chris Cook, is working on coordinating a one-day training for municipalities in Delaware County. So if anyone has any questions about the program, feel free to reach out to us. And please feel free to communicate this opportunity with your municipalities. It's a pretty easy program to apply for and to administer, and we're pretty flexible when it comes to ideas for low volume road improvements. I think that's all I want to mention. The only other program that we have is our ACAP grant program, which administratively is similar to the low volume road program, and this is specifically for agricultural operations. So anyone looking to do environmental improvements, specifically ag BNPs on their properties, would be eligible for this. And we work with the Chester County Conservation District to administer that program. So again, if anyone has questions for us about either of those, please feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Thank you, Karen. And just for everyone's knowledge, can you tell us what classifies as a low volume road?
Yeah, low volume road is a paved road, so it cannot be a dirt and gravel road. So it's a paved road that has 500 vehicles per day or less, and is publicly accessible and publicly owned. So no private roads. We've had a couple HOAs reach out to us, and those typically are not eligible because they're privately owned and maintained. And as far as the traffic counts go, there are certain requirements to conduct those traffic counts, and that is a more detailed question that we could answer via phone call or email if anyone wants to know.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. Alrighty. So next up on our agenda is the member roundtable. So just as a reminder, this is an opportunity to share anything that sparks your interest. So if you've read a cool headline, if you have a cool event going on for sustainability, if there's a topic you want to learn more about and just pick each other's brains, this is the opportunity to do so.
I'll start off. This is related to New York State, which is where I work. The state law starting in 2026 has banned all fossil fuel in new construction. There are some exceptions, but the bad side of that for efficiency is that you can't really incentivize heat pumps anymore because that's the standard business for new construction. But other states are being pretty aggressive, which is, I think, a good thing. That's all.
There it is.
like to share something else. So we at the Conservation District, we still have the same vacancy on our board that we had. I think it's been over a year that we've had a vacancy. This position is for a public director, which I learned means that it can be anybody who does not meet the requirements of a farmer. So that means it's really anyone who doesn't farmland. We had a farmer that was interested in serving on our board, and unfortunately we had to turn him down. So we have this vacancy. I'll be sending letters out probably by the end of this week or next week to request nominations. And I'm bringing this up to you all because the commission is one of our nominating agencies. So if you have anyone in mind who might be interested in serving on the Conservation District Board, they're welcome to reach out to me with any questions. I'd be happy to answer those as well. Thank you.
I wanted to note something that, so through the IIJA, the transportation bill, there was some money from carbon reduction funding that is designated by the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission to go towards public charging stations. So Delaware County will get about $2 million of that carbon reduction funding. So we are working now with DVRPC to program. We have about 20 sites. They're very preliminary. They can change, but we don't want to lose the funding, obviously, as everyone's, I'm sure, aware of the changes within federal fundings and grants and all of that, especially around carbon. It changes a lot. So we are looking to get that programmed in October onto the tip. And then we'll be working through to find the actual locations. But those requirements are for the chargers to be publicly accessible, but to be on publicly owned land. So we're trying to find areas where the county either owns the land or has long-term leases and that the land has already been disturbed, so we don't have to go through the full NEPA process. So it's made it a little bit challenging to find those locations, but we found a bunch and we think we'll be able to refine that as we go further along. So, but excited to get $2 million worth of public charging in Delaware County. So.
Thank you. And Gina, not to put you on the spot, I know you gave a fantastic presentation before council regarding SEPTA. Is there any kind of brief synopsis that you would want to leave with this group other than pointing them back to that presentation?
Yeah, everything in that presentation has changed. So that was last Wednesday, and the world has changed a little bit with regard to SEPTA funding. They did get approval to use about $400 million that was originally designated more for capital. So the issue with SEPTA and their funding challenges are really on the operating side, and that's where they're running into the $213 million funding gap is on the operating side. But they are allowed to use $400 million over the next 2 years from the capital account towards operating, so that will allow them to continue service as currently programmed or programmed before any of the cuts were to go into effect. But they are moving forward with the fare increases, and they are scheduled to go into effect on the 14th of September, those fare increases. What that means for SEPTA has a long list of capital projects. We're waiting for more information on that to see how that's going to impact. There's a lot of work that was going to be happening in Delaware County, a lot of upgrades to buses, moving towards more environmentally friendly buses and trolleys and trains. So I'm not sure how that's going to impact those projects moving forward. There will be obviously an impact. And then if there is any longer term funding that comes from the budget, from the state budget, is TBD as well. So so we at least know transportation will remain as it is, but won't really be getting better anytime soon until a more sustainable source of funding is determined. So.
not to hit you with one more thing, but have you had any more Vision Zero sign-ons since our last meeting?
We have, I don't remember the full list off the top of my head. I should have had that prepared. But Darby Township is looking like they are going to be signing on to that. They haven't done it yet. But we've had several others, so we are continuing to get our Vision Zero goals taken care of. So we've got a couple different events coming up as well. They're not open to the public, but we are doing a crossing guard training this coming Saturday. All the crossing guards across the county have been invited to a training to learn some better best practices around safety and being a crossing guard. And then we know e-scooters and e-bikes have been in the news a lot lately. There's been a lot of really serious and fatal crashes that have occurred. So we are doing a roundtable that we'll be announcing. It's focused on getting municipalities together with our local elected officials, talking about the state of e-bikes and e-scooters in the county currently and in Pennsylvania. PennDOT's going to be coming to that as well, and talking about what, some municipalities, Haverford Township has already done some ordinances around this. What are municipalities seeing? What are they doing? What are our local legislators doing as well? So it will be interesting to get everyone together to have some of these other conversations as well. So.
Thank you for sharing. And for those members of the public that are joining us, Vision Zero is an initiative to eliminate crash or traffic fatalities and serious injuries.
Becca, I was going to report on Delaware County Solid Waste Authority. So we ran a household hazardous waste collection event last Saturday at the Emergency Service Training Center in Sharon Hill. We had 571 cars come through the event. We collected 13 tons of hazardous waste to be processed. Also want to let everyone know that we're having another event in October 11th. So that's at the Upper Chichester Municipal Building. So Saturday, October 11th, 9:30 to 2.
Thank you. And Dave, just for folks, registration is required for that event, correct?
It is. You can register online through Eventbrite. If you go to our website, dcswa.org, you can register for that event.
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else? Alrighty, well, thank you guys so much for sharing. It's fantastic to hear so many different kinds of events going on throughout the county and different initiatives, and just hearing about different resources and everything like that. So I appreciate you guys all sharing, and please don't hesitate to take the time in between our meetings to find other resources or interesting things to share as well. So next up, we have a review of action items from our last meeting. We did only have 2 action items from our last meeting. The first was sharing about the tree canopy study. And as noted, that is going to be a public presentation during our October meeting, as well as published to our website. The second item is the Zero Waste Plan update. So as you may recall, during the July 10th meeting, this commission voted on adopting or pushing the Zero Waste Plan draft to County Council. I'm happy to share that that will be going before County Council for their acknowledgement and recognition on Wednesday, September 17th. So that's next Wednesday at 6 p.m. We would love to have any support during that meeting. So I'll be doing a public presentation, just sharing what's in the plan and the process for us getting here. So we'd love to have you come out. That'll be at 6 p.m. in the Delaware County Government Center in Mediaborough. Otherwise, you can also access the online live stream link on the county's website at delcopa.gov. And next on our agenda is new business. We have already, unfortunately, shared that Steve Clark is leaving us. So that leaves us with just planning for our October meeting. So wanted to just call out our October meeting is the reorganization for the commission. So ahead of next month, you will be receiving a survey, just checking in with your general availability to see if this date and time still works. For members of the public, our meeting schedule for the entire next year is set during the October meeting. So you'll just want to keep an eye on our website after the October meeting to make sure that our times and dates have not changed. With this in mind, historically, we hold our October meeting in person. So I just kind of want to put out feelers to our commission members to make sure that everyone is still available for an in-person meeting and to see kind of generally where would be a convenient location for folks and to see if the 4 o'clock hour still works or if we need to bump it back a bit, recognizing that there will be travel time required. Any input?
Becca, I'm sorry, can you repeat the date of that meeting?
Yeah, so our next meeting is on October 9th. And I will say, if folks still need time to check personal calendars and everything too, I can certainly send a link after today's meeting, just so we can all touch base.
Hey, Becca, sorry.
Please.
Is it at the same time as our meetings currently? Just wanted to confirm. If I
Yeah,
missed
so
that.
typically it would be, but I did want to put out feelers just to see if that's going to be burdensome to anybody, just because it'll be needing travel time.
Yeah, gotcha. Thanks.
Speak now or forever hold your peace.
The same time works for me.
Okay.
Becca, I wonder if the Emergency Services Center would allow you to have the meeting in their meeting room in
That's a good
Middletown.
idea. Thanks for the recommendation. That's a good one. So that is in Middletown Township, out near the Granite Run Mall complex, and it is publicly transit accessible. So that's a good one.
Our conference room would not be available, otherwise that would be my first choice.
Sure, and I will say I did also look, the county council meeting room, which is located in the government center in media, is available too. So if that's centrally located. Alrighty. Well, the only other thing that I wanted to put in front of your minds for that is recognizing that during our reorganization meeting, in addition to setting our meeting dates and times for the next year, we will be looking to fill leadership positions. So we have 4 to serve formally. We have a public chair, a government chair, a vice chair, and a secretary. And it's worth noting, after 5 years of serving as our public chair, Carol has made note that she is looking to step down from the formal chair position. So we will be needing somebody else to step up for that public chair position. So if there is interest, if you want to learn more about kind of what that entails, please feel free to reach out to either me or Carol Martzoff. in between the meetings. I will again be putting out feelers just so we know ahead of time of who's actually interested, so we can make sure that voting procedures are in alignment if we have lots of people that are interested. I will say, I mean, Carol may have different feelings, but it's not that time intensive. Typically, we'll do one 30-minute agenda meeting the week ahead of this meeting just to prepare. And then the public chair is also the one that will typically take on running the meetings, just working through the agenda. Any other new business anyone would like to raise? Alrighty, then if not, we are going to be setting action items for our next meeting. So for that, I will be sending out a survey of information, asking about availability to help inform our reorganization meeting in October. We'll also be posting the date and, well, the date's set, but the time and location of that in-person meeting held on October 9th. We also have some items in terms of postings and sharing, so some of the resources. So after the zero waste plan is approved by council, that will go on our website. And again, encourage everyone to sign up there. And we'll also be posting all of the volunteer and grant information we shared during today's meeting on our website as well. This time we have one more stop for any comments from either the commission or our members of the public before we close today. Love to call out that there are some really great resources in our chat if you haven't had the opportunity to check that out. Alrighty, if there's no further comments, we would just need a motion and a second to adjourn.
I guess that must be my job. Move we adjourn.
Alrighty, David made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Julie seconds. All those in favor say by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Alrighty, motion carried. Well, thank you guys all for your time and attention this afternoon. And I hope you enjoy the last of the beautiful weather before it gets chilly. So have a good one.
See you all next